Somewhere on your feed right now, there's a day one post, a new trend, new diet, new 5 a.m. routine. Day one, and you double tapped it, you liked it, you wished them well, and a small honest part of you already knew there would never be a day 9 of the same thing. Now flip it. Think of the person in your life who actually changed, really changed, lost the weight and kept it off, got calm, built the thing they were passionate about, read their way into an evolved mindset. Can you remember the post where they announced it? You can't, because there wasn't one. One day you just looked up and they were somebody else, and you had to ask, what happened? That's not a coincidence. That's a mechanism. The loudest starters keep finishing last, and the quietest people keep changing the most. And the reason is neither discipline nor personality. The announcement itself does something to you. It spends something you needed. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly what it spends, the 2 studies that caught it happening, and the practice I'd run instead. It's called the quiet rep. You can start today without telling a single soul. In fact, that's the whole point. Because the pattern is everywhere once you look for it. One running app studied hundreds of millions of workouts and found that most New Year's plans are dead by the second Friday of January. The second Friday, and nearly every one of those plans had a post, a group message, an announcement stapled to its origin. If that's ever been you, announcing the diet, posting the streak, telling everyone this time is different, hear me. Nothing is broken in you. You did what the culture coaches, make it public, get external accountability, burn the boats. My promise, by the end, you'll know why that advice is mostly backwards, and you'll have the quiet version, rule by rule, before the 3-minute mark. The depth comes after, for those who stay. 3 rules. Rule 1. Seal it. In short, stay quiet about what you're working on. Pick the change you keep announcing and stop announcing it. No post, no countdowns, no, guess what, I'm starting on Monday. This has nothing to do with shame. Pressure needs a sealed container. A pressure cooker with the lid off is just a warm pot. Every time you tell someone, you lift the lid and let the steam out. And then you wonder why nothing ever cooks. Rule 2. Rep it. One small tiny action every day. The smallest honest unit you writing 1 paragraph. The rep is deliberately smaller than your ambition because the rep has to survive the boring days. And your ambition will not be there on the boring days. So in short, consistency beats quantity. Rule 3. Witness and monitor it. Every rep gets 1 private tick, a notebook, a calendar, the tracker I've linked down below. Hold this distinction. A ledger is not an audience. A ledger is you seeing the work for yourself. An audience is other people seeing the intention. One of those compounds, the other one leaks. Finally, the bonus rule. The release, which is the rule underneath the rules. You stop needing the change to be visible. No updates, no before and after, no progress reports to the group chat. You let people notice on their own. And they will. The day someone looks at you and asks, unprompted, what's different about you, that's the finish line. You'll have crossed it in silence. 3 rules and a release. You could stop watching here and the method would already be yours. But stay, because knowing why this works is what keeps you going in week number 3. Let's start with the trending loud version first. The logic goes something like this. Tell people about your goals. And social pressure starts working for you. You'll be embarrassed to quit. Post your progress and the likes become fuel. Join the challenge. Share the streak. Find an accountability partner. Public commitment as a trap you set for your own laziness. And in narrow places it does work. A training plan with a race date. A course with a cohort. Telling people helps with the logistics of not flaking. External deadlines are real. Teams are real. I'm not asking you to ghost your running club, but I want you to watch what that advice has quietly become in practice. We took accountability, which was a private contract with consequences, and swapped it for an announcement, which is a public performance with applause. And the applause is exactly where the trouble starts. Back in 2009, a psychologist in New York named Peter Gollwitzer ran a set of experiments on precisely this. His team studied identity goals, goals about who you are becoming, not just what you're doing. His study focused on law students studying hard to become great lawyers. Half of them had their intentions noticed by other people. Half kept them unnoticed. Then the researchers simply watched who did the work. The ones whose intentions had been seen did less. Less follow through in the lab, less persistence over the following week, and when the team dug into why, they landed on something interesting. Having your intention witnessed gives you a premature sense of already being the person you want to be. The nod from the audience counts somewhere deep in your internal accounting system as evidence that the identity is real. And an identity that already feels real stops demanding the reps that would have made it real. Here's the same thing in brain terms in one sentence. The announcement triggers the reward chemistry of achievement, that small anticipatory lift of being seen as the new you. Before a single rep is done, you got the wage before the shift was over. Of course you didn't show up to work. And the detail that makes it more cruel, in those studies, the effect showed up in the people most committed to the identity. So the more you want to become the person, the more the announcement satisfies instead of motivates. Hearing more makes broadcasting worse. Now this is where I got stuck for a while, because in my 168 audit video, I told you almost the opposite. I told you about the big food diary study, where people who wrote down what they are lost twice the weight. Measurement works, visibility works, so which is it? Does being seen help you change or stop you? What I noticed eventually is that these are two different kinds of seen. Tracking is you watching the work after it's done. Announcing is them watching the intention before anything is done. Your ledger records what happened. The audience applauds what's supposed to happen. And the research splits cleanly along that line. Recording your actual progress privately or with one honest partner reliably helps. Broadcasting your intentions to a crowd reliably doesn't. Most of us do the second one and file it under the first. If we step back far enough, loud and quiet stop being volumes. They are two engines for action. The loud mindset needs the external as a precursor. The telling is part of the machine. Cheering if it goes well, watching eyes if it doesn't. Either way, the fuel comes from the outside. You can hear it in the smallest cases. If the only reason you keep the streak alive tonight is about the friend who would be annoyed if you break it, the act has quietly stopped being yours. You're complying, and a complied rep is a low-grade rep. It ticks the box and builds almost nothing because you didn't choose it yourself. On the other hand, the quiet mindset runs without that layer entirely. And that right there is the whole advantage. A goal with an audience is carrying weight that has nothing to do with the work itself. Managing impressions, defending timelines, performing progress. If you drop the audience and the performance, the act gets lighter. Everything that used to go into being watched goes into the actual doing itself. The act done for the act itself at full strength. Exactly how it's supposed to be. And I'll say the honest part out loud. Loud sometimes wins anyway. People announce the marathon and run it. And that's earned. I'm not here to mock anyone's way of moving through the world, but nothing matches the aura of the quiet arrival. When somebody shows up transformed, without a trailer, with no countdown, we don't just clap, we lean in. Silence ends up being the best marketing there is because it was never marketing in the first place. And here's what grounded me. We already knew this. We have known it for centuries. The most powerful man in the world once ran a private experiment on it. Marcus Aurelius, running the Roman Empire, kept a notebook of notes to himself. Reminders, connections, small vows. Scholars are fairly confident he never intended anyone to read it. The oldest manuscripts don't even call it meditations. The title is closer to himself. The most read self-improvement book in human history is one man's Quiet Reps. And its author would be horrified to learn we have seen it. He wasn't posting his growth, he was doing it in a private manner, in the dark, where it was cheap to be honest. There is an older thread still, in almost every tradition that thought seriously about action. It says, do the work because the work is yours to do, and unclench your hand from what the work returns, the outcome, the fruit. The rep belongs to you. The fruit ripens on its own schedule, and staring at it doesn't speed it up. But I didn't learn this from a book. I learned it at home. Where I come from, there is an old belief called the evil eye. The idea is roughly when something is growing well in your life and you display it too early and too much. You attract attention, and not every eye on your rise wishes it well. Hurdles start appearing that nobody can quite explain, and the classic protection, passed down through generations, is almost comically simple. While the important thing is still in the process, don't advertise it. Finish first, speak after. Now, you can take the metaphysics or leave it, but look at what the practice does. When I applied for my permanent residency, I told almost no one until the approval actually came through. Same again with my citizenship. And when I started this YouTube channel, my family and my friends found out after the first 2 videos were already live, not one day before. Each time, the work felt cleaner, lighter, because here's my practical reading of my tradition's rule. An announcement attracts energy of every kind, and a lot of it arrives at outcome-oriented pressure. Suddenly, people are waiting. Suddenly, the timeline stops being yours. And when the outcome is time-bound and sits mostly outside your control, like a visa file on a stranger's desk, that pressure has nowhere useful to go. It curdles into stress, and stress doesn't stay inside the goal. It leaks into your sleep, your mood, the quality of the work itself. And the lab, as it turns out, agrees with the traditions. 2 stress researchers, Dickerson and Kemeny, once combed through more than 200 laboratory studies, asking one question: what actually spikes the body's main stress hormone? The answer was almost surgical. The biggest surges and the slowest recoveries came when a task was being judged by others, and its outcome was out of the person's control. Social evaluation plus uncontrollability. Read that back slowly, because it's a clinical description of an announced goal. The evil eye. Whatever else it is, it's a very old warning about a very measurable mechanism. There's a second cost to announcing, and it lands even earlier. The blueprint leak. Publish the plan before you've acted, and everyone gets a vote. The criticism arrives before the evidence does, and most of it comes from people with strong opinions and no expertise in the thing you're building. Every confident, "Are you sure about this?" shaves a little conviction off the plan. You start second-guessing a blueprint that was fine. You act smaller. Or worse, you don't act at all. The plan didn't fail. It got voted down by a committee you never needed to convene in the first place. And I want to be clear. I want you to stay curious. I want you to ask questions. Collect perspectives from people who have been where you are going. But there's a real difference between asking a couple of questions out of curiosity and publishing your entire blueprint for public review. One feeds the process. The other exposes it before it can stand on its own. I keep returning to an idea from the older videos. Freedom of choice. Real freedom is knowing within yourself what actually matters to you and then acting on it with full conviction. The quiet rep protects exactly that. Nobody can vote down a plan they never saw, so your conviction arrives at the work intact. And if you want one more picture for all of this, borrow the strangest one science ever produced. In the famous double-slit quantum experiments, particles behave one way when nothing is watching them, and differently the moment a detector observes which path they take. Essentially, the act of observation changes the outcome. Now, the physicist will tell you, rightly, that this is about measurement disturbing a delicate system, not about minds spooking matter. So, no, I'm not claiming your neighbor's opinion collapses your gym plan at the quantum level. But notice the rhyme. The more delicate the system, the more the watching disturbs it. And a change in its first weeks is about the most delicate system you will ever run. By tradition's old rule, the stress lab and the strangest experiment in physics keep circling the same instinct. Some things need to go unobserved while they become what they're becoming. One more correction, because I don't want you hearing quiet as deprivation. Quiet is not zero. I have a niece. She's 2. I love being around her, and being around her is one of the loudest jobs on earth. And when I need to write or actually think, I've learned I need distance from certain kinds of voices for a while. Not away from life, away from input that grabs the thread of a thought before the thought has finished forming. So for some kinds of work, quiet is simply a working condition. And nature taught me the difference between quiet and empty. When you stand in a forest, it's never silent. You hear birds, wind, water moving somewhere. Nature has an audible quiet, sound that doesn't interrupt. That's the quiet I mean. Working in quiet doesn't mean working in a void. It means the process runs without a public address system bolted to it. I want you to picture a road being repaired. The crew closes it. It's no secret there are cones and signs everywhere, but a road that stays open to traffic never gets properly fixed. Some processes need closure to complete. A whole body of research on noise and interruption back this up. But you don't need the citations. You felt the difference between thinking in a quiet room or a shower versus thinking while scrolling your Instagram feed. Which brings us to the payoff. The compounding self again. A rep that nobody sees has a strange property. Nothing leaks. All of it lands in the account. And this is why overnight success keeps lying to you. Transformation was never a single event. It's a process with 100 ingredients spread across years. And then one day, there's a tipping moment. The reel goes viral. The song is trending onto the charts. Someone walks into the room unrecognizable. And the world points at the day and calls it the change. The world is seeing the day the compounding crossed the visibility line and mistaking it for the whole story. Nobody films the 400 quiet mornings. By the time it looks sudden, it has been slow for years. So don't wait for your own highlight to believe your change is happening. If the ledger is filling, it is happening. And working in quiet never meant working unwatched. There is an audience. You are the audience. You hold the visibility. You keep yourself in check and you're qualified for the job in a way nobody else will ever be because you are the only real authority on yourself. That's not a burden, that's the freedom. That watcher was always going to be your only witness anyway. The one awake at 6 a.m. when the alarm argues. The one who knows whether today's tick was earned. I've talked before about the self behind the noise. So be honest with your own true self. What you announce, you spend. What you repeat, you keep. So here's the experiment I want you to run. 30 days. Pick the one change that you have announced the most times. You know the one. It might have retired a few times already. Seal it for 30 days. Nobody new finds out. If someone already knows, you simply stop giving them updates. A caveat on the edges. Keep the coach, keep the doctor, the partner who runs logistics with you. The seal is on broadcasting for the feeling, not the ongoing help. And if you need input, ask a question or two out of curiosity. Just don't hand over the blueprint publicly. Rep it daily at the smallest honest size. Ledger it with one private tick. The tracker's in the description below, or reuse your 168 audit sheet and run the release. For 30 days, the work is allowed to be invisible. If nobody notices by day 30, you haven't failed. You have compounded. Most fruit is invisible at 30 days. All of it is visible eventually. So for 1 month, one sealed thing, one tick a day, witnessed by the only authority on you, yourself. Become consistent for yourself first and let everyone else find out the good way. Back to the beginning. Somewhere on your feed tonight, there'll be another day one post. Be kind to it. It isn't stupid, it's just spending its fuel at the door, the way most of us were taught to. But hopefully if you're aligned with the message, yours isn't a post anymore. Yours is a seed doing its first work underground, whether the growing looks like nothing at all. Yours is a road closed for repairs. Cones up, quietly becoming the smooth stretch everyone will drive on later. Yours is a ledger, filling with small ticks nobody claps for, in an account nobody can see, earning interest the whole time. Go start something nobody knows about. And if this video found you at the right time, subscribe quietly. I'll catch you soon. Bye.